And we understand that God has already spoken to Moses, and he has told Moses to tell the people, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. And not only does he say let them go, but he said that they're going to go on a 3-day journey. It's going to be a 3-day journey, and I want them to go on a 3-day journey that they might worship me. That was the point, that God said they're going to worship me. Now, it's not like God to engineer an overthrow or a rebellion, or it's not like God to engineer freedom for believers and then bring you back after 3 days' journey. It's not his way. But God is not a man that he should lie, or the son of man that he should repent. So God does not need to deceive anybody to bring about his word. But what God now says, though, he tells Moses, he says, tell Pharaoh to let my people go, a 3-day journey, that they may worship me in this mountain. Now, when he says that, what he says is, they're going to now have a worship experience with me in the mountain. Now, I'm not going to tell them not to go back to Egypt, but once they have a true worship experience with me, that the worship with God will make you rebellious. Now, it will not make you rebellious against God. It will not make you rebellious against the things of God. It will not make you rebellious against the people of God. But it will open up your eyes and make you rebellious to anything that's not like God. It will allow you to begin to see Pharaoh for exactly who he is. And all God says is, let him come and worship with me. And when they have a connection with me and a worship experience with me, they will be empowered and transformed, and they ain't going to want to go back to Egypt themselves. See, the reality is that what you need is a connection with God, and it will change things. When we are walking in bondage and blindness and unconnected, we see certain things a certain way. We can even see Egypt a certain way. We can even see the pharaohs in our life a certain way. We can even see the demons in our life a certain way. But when you have a worship experience with God, it changes how you see where you were. It changes the value you have on yourself. When you begin to see that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, it's going to mess up some relationships in your life. When you understand exactly who you are, it's going to mess up some jobs you have in your life. When you understand the power that God has placed in you, you ain't going to stay in the same place that you were. But what God says, he says, tell them to let my people go. And he also says, Moses, I want you to know I'm going to be with you. Now, when God says, I'm going to be with you, what he's saying is that you need to prepare yourself to be alone. That means that there's going to be some things that you're about to go through and that are deeper than the faith of the people that are around you. That means that they have faith to walk with you up to a certain point, but I'm going to be with you because I know that what you're going through is going to be bigger than what the people in your life can handle. Listen, there's some folk that can't go the whole way with you, and you ought not be mad at them. It's bigger than where they are. It's heavier than where they are. It's deeper than where they are. But God says, I want you to know I'll be with you. So Moses begins to talk to God, and he says, Lord, what if they don't listen to me? What if they don't heed me? In other words, let me tell you what he said. What if you're wrong about me? See, I want you to understand that Moses was not dealing with whether God was powerful enough to shut the mouth of Satan. He wasn't worried about whether God was powerful enough to do something with Pharaoh. His issue was me. What if they don't heed my voice? God, listen, I've got an inferiority complex in my life that's hindering me from being able to see myself as you see me. It's not that I don't see you as you see yourself. I see the burning bush. I see the awesomeness of you. But what I cannot see is the awesomeness in me. I don't understand why you called me up here. I don't understand why you gave me this assignment. Do you understand? Maybe you were wrong about me. Do you know what I've been through? Do you know what I did? Do you know my issues? Maybe you're wrong about me. What if they don't believe me? What if it don't work out like I thought it was going to? And let me tell you what God does. He now begins to speak to Moses, and he says, well, now, what's in your hand? Now, I need you to understand something that he's saying to Moses. You know, I met you had a scepter in your hand about 40 years ago, but I couldn't use you. You had the wrong materials in your hand. And it's just like God to use what you're already working with. And oftentimes, it's the stuff that you picked up along the way that seems like nothing, that God says, you just picked up something that can move you and propel you into your destiny. When he dropped the scepter of a prince in Egypt, he picked up the rod of a shepherd in Midian, and when he began to pick up the rod, God said, you got something that I can use now. And even though it seems like it's dormant, and even though I'm not using it right now, the moment of Moses, at the time when he is at his deepest place of despair, God says, you you don't even need anything else. You carry around everything you need. One day, believe it or not, this little mundane thing that you carry around that you don't think is anything is going to be called the rod of God. You don't even understand that when you lift up this rod, a whole sea is going to open up in front of you. You will just look at a rock and begin to touch it, and just by the touch of your rod, there's water that's going to start coming out of the rock. So you know what? I love using what's in your hand. I used it when David was coming against Goliath. He didn't have a spear and he didn't have a sword, but he had a slingshot. And with Samson, when they were coming against Samson, what did I do? Samson did not have a sword or a shield, but he had a jawbone of a donkey. And when hundreds of men came, he killed them with this jawbone. So what God is trying to say, I want to use what's in your hand right now. Does anybody, are you carrying anything? Amen. Is there anybody in this place that knows that I'm carrying some stuff that you can use right now that I picked up in my wilderness? I didn't pick it up at the place where everything was going well, but I picked up some skills in my trauma. See, that's the people right now that know God. You know what? It was because of my hungry days that I'm really like this now. It's because of the days when everybody turned against me. I picked up some skills when I had some haters that came out of the woodwork. It took some brokenness. It took some financial trouble. It took some people not liking me to get me where I am right now. And God is saying, now, look what I built in you. Your trouble built a rod, and you're going to take that rod right there that you're walking around with, and I can use it. But I need you to see what God does. Well, what happens is he says, take the rod, and then he says, throw it down. And when he threw the rod down, it became a serpent. What God has to do with us is he has to expose our hidden fear. And it becomes real. See, let me tell you something. God is not changing what you're afraid of. God is trying to change you. So when the thing became a snake, God didn't change the snake. He simply said, Moses fled from it. Now, I want you to understand what Moses did. When the Bible says that Moses fled from it, the moment Moses' fear began to materialize, he moved in the opposite direction of his destiny.
Yes.
The moment he saw the snake, even though God had empowered him and told him, I'm with you, and I'm going to be with your mouth, and that you can't die, but you're going to succeed, the moment an old fear popped up, it moved him out of the place of destiny. He began to move away from everything that God said. He began to move further from the destiny. But let me tell you something. God didn't come and rock him to sleep. He said, Moses, if you don't ever get off this mountain and stop talking about how great you are, if you don't ever get off this place where it's just a prophecy, if you ever want to manifest, what I have for you, then that means that you got to be able to handle your fear. That what God is saying now is that he's telling him, I want you to grab hold of what you are afraid of. And what he was telling him was that I'm about to make your enemies powerless. And he says to him, grab it by the tail. Now, if you look at National Geographic, if you look at any Animal Planet, you will know that they always grab it by the head. They grab it because that's the place where you control the mouth. But he said, listen, you won't be in control grabbing it wherever you grab it. Matter of fact, if you grab him at the place where he is most dangerous, he can touch everybody, but he can't touch you. Because I'm about to take the sting out of Pharaoh. Matter of fact, I'm going to take the power that Pharaoh has. I'm about to drain it from him, and then I'm about to give it to you. So not only are you going to walk in my power, but I sent you to Egypt to overthrow the kingdom of Egypt and to take every bit of the treasure that they've been holding up and all the authority that Pharaoh's walking in right now. You're going to grab him like he's just a little stick and twirl him around. See, God was saying, I need you to be able to handle your fear. And I had to do it in secret. Is there anybody knows right now that in secret, God is trying to get you to deal with yourself? That some of y'all are going through some secret stuff, and God is telling you some great things about yourself. But he said, I'm not going to let you leave the mountain until you handle your fear. But I'm not going to do it in front of everybody. There's some stuff that God has to do in private. But you need to know you can have a private revelation and a private revival up on the mountain.